Good evening, Dhamma friends. Wish you the blessings of the Nobel Triple Gem for a happy and peaceful 1.5 hour. We are going to begin this evening Sutta studies with the blessings of the Nobel Triple Gem. I always accept the fact that the gathering of wholesome friends, either in person or virtually, would be giving us so much encouragement. The teaching class would be a form of discussion, but mostly I'm talking about the selected topics and discourses. Even I get a lot of inspirations by the way you participate in the discussion. That's so much for us. So this effort is therefore successful. We all come to some understanding about Dhamma based on discourses. So we are going to begin the second Sutta study class for this year so far, and the selected topic is also really interesting. Before we move forward, let us pay our due respect to the Supreme Buddha who taught us the Dhamma, the path to peace and happiness, what we call enlightenment. Let me recite the Namo Tassa 3 times in Pali and in English to pay him our great respect. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, the topic for today's Sutta discussion is abandoning Sakkariti or self-view. Many of you know about the topic because this has been one of the interesting topics of our Dhamma discussion, because we all refer to discourses about Sakkariti, and it has been the hot topic of many Dhamma discussions since we all try to abandon it. I believe that some of you have less Sakkariti because you have Sammaditthi. When one practices Sammaditthi and other factors of the Noble Eightfold Path with so much enthusiasm and interest, the very unwholesome state that is eroding is Sakkariti. In that regard, I believe many of us have abandoned the gross part of Sakkariti. It could come for some people in a subtle way, but whenever you notice what Sakkariti could be done to you, you try to avoid it at least for a temporary period. So Sakkariti, in my understanding, is such an unwholesome state that could be hide in our mind depending on our dharma. But in order to pull it out completely, we can meditate, we can investigate the Dhamma, not anything else, but about oneself. When it comes to the etymology and linguistic part of the very word, we can understand what this means. Before we go forward, I just want to tell you about some suttas that you should refer to if you want to know about Sammaditthi. The very word Sakkariti is the title for many suttas in Samyutta Nikaya. And if you Google Sakkariti Sutta, Sakkariti, or just the Buddha's admonition about Sakkariti, you can find many discourses. But very important discourse I also referred to today is Chachakka Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. This is the Sutta number 100, as I remember, 148. And this English translation is 6 sets of 6. One of the powerful discourses in the entire Tripitaka, so that you would read it. According to Bhikkhu Bodhi, you should read it loud. For it means whatever you read should be heard by yourself, so that you can absorb or remember or keep them in mind for you to understand the essence of the sutta better. So in one of the analyses given by Bhikkhu Bodhi, he suggested everyone who read the discourse to read it loudly, just because you remember them. It is such a wonderful discourse. It's a very clear discourse to say that the Buddha's teaching is excellent in the beginning, excellent in the middle, excellent in the end. Each words of it is really touching this point, how Sakkariti arises and which way we Sakkariti abandon, and what happened after the abandonment of Sakkariti gradually. And you can see one step into the practice from the very beginning, and also end the training with the enlightenment. So this discourse, Chachakka Sutta, is therefore a really important discourse. That is one of the discourses I refer you to read, and I keep that in mind in today's discussion. Of course, not the entire discourse, but some part. What do you mean by Sakkaya Ditthi? Venerable Sariputta, along with Mahakotita, they are all enlightened beings, as you know, had a discussion about various things. In one of the subtopic in their conversation is Sakkaya Ditthi. Ditthi is view. We all know that Ditthi is important when it comes to right view, Samma Ditthi. But Ditthi, the point of view or standpoint, is not good, or it's wrong when it comes to Miccha Ditthi and Sakkaya Ditthi. So our whole purpose in practicing Samma Ditthi is to abandon Sakkaya Ditthi and Miccha Ditthi. So the very word Ditthi is view. But about what? About me, about I, about self. So the Sakkaya Ditthi. Sakkaya, what do you mean by Sakkaya? In that particular conversation between Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mahakotita, Sakkaya is defined as Rupa, form, Vedana, feeling, Sanya, perception, Sankara, mental formation, Vijnana, consciousness, as Sakkaya Ditthi. Sakkaya, sorry. So the way Sat means, again, there is another definition. Sat means mind. So if you take, or if you hold on to form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness as mind, then you have whole Sakkaya Ditthi. This is a wrong view. So we all have 5 aggregates in each moment, if we are conscious or not. We all create 5 aggregates in each moment of life, not only as human, even other beings, they create 5 aggregates. Depending on their mental development, some beings may not be developing attachment to it, but aggregates are there always for beings. So when we take form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness as mind, or if you put some clinging part to it, then it's called the Sakkaya Ditti. So wrong view about 5 aggregates is called Sakkaya Ditti. Wrong, in another words, you consider that you are existing and everything that you experience is mine or somebody else or whatever, then you have Sakkaya Ditti. That's a very simple and short definition for Sakkaya Ditti. In one analysis done by a scholar, he said, I can't remember his name. It's very logical. There is no self here in this body. Even if there is a self, we, according to absolute truth, we do not want to create a view about it. According to theistic religion, they believe a self, sometime created by the Almighty God, or some people believe there is a self, but it is not created by God, but it is something that happens without reason, and it ends also without reason. There are such views even time from the that the Buddha lived. So anyway, many people in this world believed self. This body is my, I, me, and myself. The self, existing of the self is not the problem, but the wrong view about the self is the problem. So Buddha wanted to break this point, wrong point, by explaining what self and how could that happen and which way we need to address it. So for that, we just want to go to the Chathaka Sutta, which I like very much because it explains how people develop Sakkaya Ditti. Because before you take a step to abandon Sakkaya Ditti or wrong view about self, we have to understand how it arises. If you know how it arises, there you have the chance of taking it slowly out from your perception. So if you go to the first part of the Chathaka Sutta, it is said that this whole body is categorized into 6 sections. That's why it's called 6 sets of 6. Basically, we all know that we start this classification from the senses. The eyes, ears, nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind are the 6 sense bases. They are called internal 6 sense bases because it is in the body. And then what are the external sense bases? The respective objects for these 6 senses. As you know, form, sounds, smell, touch, and so forth. Then these are the 2 first sets. Then the third one is 6 type of consciousness. Related to each sense, there are consciousness, eye consciousness, ear, and so forth. That is the third set. Then the fourth one is the contact. Right after the first, second, third sets, we have contact. That is the contact depending on eye and the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. 6 type of contact is the fourth set. And then the fifth one is feeling. Feeling born through eyes, through ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. There are 6 as well. And the last one is 6 type of craving. When we see pictures from eyes, there is eye consciousness, eye contact, and the feeling born through eye or born from eye. And we like the feeling, pleasant feeling that comes through eyes, and that's called craving from eyes. Craving that develops through eyes. So these are the 6 sets. In the first one, we talk about the 6 internal sense bases. In the second one, external sense bases. Third one, 6 type of consciousness. Fourth, 6 type of contact. And fifth, feeling, 6 type of feeling, and the 6th one is 6 type of craving. So that is the thing we find in the first part of the Chachaka Sutta. If you take these 6 sets, that's all of us. A human is these 6 sets, or a being, any other being. So when you, according to the Buddha, when we consider that this I is I, me, and myself, it is not accepted, absolutely, because we can see that I is changing. If you cannot see the change of I right now, but look at you for taking several decades. Suppose starting from 2000, the year 2000 up to now, 21 years, you see your eyes has been changing. In 2005, you could see without any problem, but now you hardly see a person who is 100 meters away from you. Perhaps you cannot drive in the darkness, but earlier in 2005, you could, because of the deterioration of the eyes. So like that, we can see each of these sects change depending on reasons. So when the Buddha said that if somebody says eyes are mine and belongs to me and belongs to, and so forth, it is not accepted because we can see the change. Like that, in the second part of the Chachaka Sutta, Buddha showed us that none of these body parts and their related objects and consciousness, contact, feeling, craving are permanent. They are always changing. So if there is a thing called self, or if there is a person called self, what is the use of that if each subparticles of the person or the self change? Isn't this good enough for us to understand that there is no a permanent being in this body, in this mind, right? So once again, what the Buddha emphasized in the second part of the Chachaka Sutta is very important. When people say that these are my eyes, these are my ears, this is my nose, tongue, body, and my mind, and my car, my house, because they are pictures for our eyes. Your car, your daughter, your son, your wife are pictures for you. You see them from your eyes. You hear their sounds through your ears. Because of that, they are pictures and sounds for you, according to this classification, right? So when your eyes, ears are impermanent, or when you can see them change, how could you expect something certain, certainty with this daughter, son, and whatever you see? So the Buddha said that that kind of things, if the self is changing, what is the use of self, right? So that is really important. Let me read one of those for your understanding, so that it is really important. This is how the question: if one says the I is self, that is not acceptable. The rise and fall of the I is seen and understood, and since its rise and fall are discerned, it would follow my self rises and falls. That is why it is not acceptable for anyone to say the I is self, thus the I is not self. So if we can see the rising and falling of any of those senses or their objects, feeling, consciousness, perception, craving, how could we say that it is self? Even if it is created by the God, what is the use of it? Because the God is then God hasn't done a good job there, because he has created something always rise and fall, which is not important for us. Why 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 didn't he create something solid, something permanent? If the God created something rising and falling always, the so-called God must be impermanent too. Why do we try to go to him? Why do we try to be united with him? Because he has created something impermanent. If we are to believe that there is a God and he had created all humans and living beings, material things and so forth, he hasn't done a good job. So Buddha has questioned this. So this shows, let's come to our point. If this body is showing us constant changing of each faculties, each senses, each physical and mental phenomena, we cannot say that there is a self. But then why do we talk about self-view? Friends, there is no self according to the Buddha. Therefore, the view that ignorantly we create is also wrong. At the end, what happened to people, humans, they have created an idea as I, me, and myself for something never exist. So Buddha has been categorizing this body and also mind into subtle levels to show us that there is no such thing. Paticca Samuppada, Four Noble Truths, and every important Dhamma elements are there to show us that there is no permanent entity, permanent being. There is something, but they are always changing. So that is really important. Read this discourse mindfully, slowly, step by step. And I do not want to explain you much, and nobody wants to be your teacher to explain this particular sutta. You can understand. It's very clear sutta. Now I just want to jump into the section where Buddha talks about how Sakkariti, the origination of identity view, origination of wrong identity. Now, bhikkhus, this is the way leading to the origination of identity. Let's understand this. One regards the I thus. This is mine, this I am, this is myself. One regards form thus. This is mine, this I am, this is myself. Like that, eye consciousness, then eye contact, and the feeling born through eyes, and also craving. For every 6 sets, you say, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. These 3 things in Pali is said as etang mama, eso hamasmi, eso mi attati. You are not telling this to you when you see something. When you think about your eyes, your other senses, and using your eyes, you see pictures, hear sounds, and so forth. You are not telling these 3 terms, but in a subtle level, your mind has these 3 things. If you are not a Sotapanna yet, you have this as the essence of your mind. This is mine, this I am, this is myself. Right? So it's the wrong view. This is how the origin of Sakkaya Ditthi happens. With regard to your eyes, form, whatever you see from eyes, eye consciousness, and eye contact, feeling, and craving, if you have these 3 things, if you develop these 3 things, or if you keep this in mind when you see, when you have eye consciousness and so forth, you are creating, or you are developing Sakkaya Ditthi. Let's go further. One regards the ear, one regards the nose. This is mine, this I am, this is myself. One regards the tongue and the body and the mind itself. One regards the mind, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. So 6 sets of 36 are there. With these 36, humans who haven't done anything about the training might think, this is mine, this I am, this is myself. So what they do is developing Sakkariti. For example, we go to the mirror and we color our face. Men and women both are doing that for the sake of living, for the sake of various reasons. So if you want to do it, you may do it. What I want to show is that, so we go to the mirror and apply various, so this is my eyes. Oh, it's not nice. I have to keep it nice. Or this is my face. Or my teeth are not good. So that's how we normally live. You cannot avoid that. But when you learn this from the Buddha's own lips, that how Sakkariti is created, conventionally you can use I, me, this is my eyes, this is and from the Vipassana point of view, from the absolute point of view, just understand that they are only made up of 4 great elements. So when we talk about origin of Sakkariti, when you say without mindfulness and wisdom, this is my eyes, this is my face, this is my clothes, my robe, and if you have that view, there you have Sakkariti. It is, so far you may find some difficulty in avoiding Sakkariti, but the teaching of the Buddha is very simple, very practical to avoid Sakkariti. We go to that part later on. So this is how origin of Sakkariti happens. So now how do we cease or stop Sakkariti, wrong view? The Buddha has said it in the right after the origination of Sakkariti. Now, bhikkhus, this is the way leading to the cessation of Sakkariti. One regards the I, thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. And the form, eye consciousness, eye contact, feeling born through eyes, and also craving that arises through eyes. With regard to all these 6, we practice this, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Just like a mantra at the very beginning, it could be some words for you. Since you practice these 3 right view exactly as it is, you say it to yourself. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, and so forth. When you come to easy practice with so much hard work, that idea comes to you automatically. Whenever you are going to attach to something, when you are going to go with some negative emotions, you quickly understand that, oh, this is not mine. Technically, this is only I and seeing, ear and hearing, and then tongue and taste. They are only seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. That's all happened to me. Me is only a word given to the 6 sects. There is no permanent being here in this body. Only physical and mental phenomena works together depending on reasons. So that's how one understands to cease Sakkariti. Of course, with this right thinking, the Sakkariti is what do you call shaken a lot. And for example, there is what the commentary says, that Sakkariti is just like a clay pot or a glass or a ball made by copper. So if you see a hole or kind of crack in clay pot or glass or the bowl made by copper, it's unusable. You cannot use it because the glass or the clay pot, you are using them for cooking or for water. So if there is a crack or hole, you cannot use it anymore. When you analyze your senses, sensory experiences, consciousness, feeling, and everything according to Chachakka, the hole or cracks is going to happen in Sakkariti. You cannot have Sakkariti anymore. You may, but in a subtle level, but it has some cracks so that you immediately understand what is going on. If there is any supportive condition for Sakkariti to arise, you recognize it and you do not let it grow because you have practiced enough. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. It is very practical. We can do it. Don't wait for Dhamma sermons to do it. We shouldn't limit our Sakkariti elimination practice only for Dhamma sermon, only for meditation, period. We have to do it with our son, with our daughter, with our husband, with our customers, with our employer, with general people, while we are driving, while we are cooking, sleeping, while we are having hot topics, especially about politics. So we have to practice this. Just engage with normal conversation, but inside keep that this is not mine. This is not, this I am not, and this is not myself. When you are finding that you are not there, right, and there is nothing for you to hold on to because you found that there is no you in that. Okay, so this is how we see Sakkariti. A lot of people ask question how Sakkariti is ended. This is the solutions Buddha give with regard to eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and anything and everything you absorb through these senses and the respective thinking process, including consciousness, contact, perception, feeling, craving, attachment. When you have all these gradual progress of thinking, just put at these three. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. With one session, with one thinking, you cannot do it. With one, adding, you cannot do it. Have a habit of doing it. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. Netang mama, nemeso hamasmi, nemeso attati. Earlier, if we go with the current of the society, what we need to practice? Etang mama, this is mine. Etang mama, eso hamasmi, this I am. And eso mi attati, this is myself. But when you go against the current of the society, against the convention, or when you are in the absolute truth, what you say to yourself, this is not mine. Netang mama, this I am not. Netang mama, nameso netang mama, nameso hamasmi, and this is not myself, nameso attati. It is probable and possible and doable. So now you all know what has to be done to abandon Sakkariti according to the Chachakka Sutta. If you go to the Okkanti Sangyutta of Sangyutta Nikaya, the same thing is said in a different way. If you take I, you practice Chakkung Bhikkhave Aniccang Viparinami Anyata Bhavi. In the Okkanti Sangyutta, you recognize you as, again, 6 sects. I, senses, internal, external, 6 types of consciousness, 6 types of contact, 6 types of feeling and craving and so forth. And you analyzed there as Chakkum Bhikkhave Anichang, the eye is impermanent. Anichang Viparinami, eye is going to alter or change. And then Anyata Bhavi, change to otherwise. So when you analyze your senses, internal and external, and then consciousness, contact, feeling, craving in such a way that is also the path to Sakkariti, Sotapanna, and then Sakadagami, Anagami, and full enlightenment. So that there is no differences between suttas. The same thing is said in a different way. So here we know that how Sakkariti is arising and how Sakkariti is going to end. When we practice senses as not mine, not myself, I'm not there, and not myself, what happened to us? The attachment to Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara is gone slow. Attachment to 5 aggregates is done according to the level. Suppose you attain to Sotapanna by this practice, the attachment to the 5 aggregates is destroyed according to the fruition or the level you attain in the enlightenment. For example, if you attain to Sotapanna, the attachment to 5 aggregates is eroded according to that level. Okay, so I just want to read this. So we talk about the underlying tendencies. So for Sakkariti to arise in us, in our thinking, there are something underneath of Sakkariti. Just like the roots of trees provide, just like the seed provide the roots to, produce the tree and do everything. Just like the seed of man and woman make the boy or the daughter in the womb, and now the mother delivers a baby, complete human. Sakkariti as a wholesome, very rigorous, wholesome state, there are seed for it. They are called underlying tendencies, anusaya. This is how the Buddha explained that. Because dependent on the I and form, I consciousness arises. The meeting of the 3 is eye contact. With eye contact as conditions, there arises pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. When one is touched with by a pleasant eye feeling, if one delights in it, welcomes it, and remains whole to it, then the underlying tendency to lust lies within one. So underlying tendency to lust arises. So now we can see a very important thing here. Eyes meet particular object called form, then eye consciousness arises. Meeting of these 3 is called contact. And then with contact, depending on contact, there is pleasant feeling, neutral feeling, or unpleasant feeling. So if we welcome or accept the pleasant feeling as it is, then and there the underlying tendency to lust arises. If we do not welcome, if we do not admire, if we do not accept pleasant feeling as pleasant, wow, with wow feeling, with wow sound, with ah sound, it means we do not welcome it. What happened to us? We do not develop underlying tendency to lust. What happened if we do not develop underlying tendency to lust, the problem is solved. Sakkariti or any other defiled state is not developed, is not increased, is not arisen, because we do not welcome, we do not hold on to the pleasant feeling that come through eyes. Isn't that showing that eyes and form and eye consciousness, seeing something and contact up to feeling, the process is unstoppable. We cannot stop the process of this progressive step up to the feeling. So where we can abandon Sakkaya Ditya and other tendencies, underlying tendencies, and the root cause of suffering with regard to the way we deal with the feeling. If we understand that there is a pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling or neutral feeling, so we do not welcome pleasant feeling, we do not hold on to pleasant feeling. And with regard to unpleasant feeling, let me continue reading. When one is touched by a painful eye feeling, if one sorrows, grieves, and laments, weeps, beating one's breast and become distraught, and then the underlying tendency to aversion lies within one. When one is touched by neither pleasant feeling nor painful eye feeling, if one does not understand as it actually is the origination, the disappearance, the gratification, the danger, and the escape in regard to the eye feeling, then the underlying tendency to ignorance lies with one. Because that one shall here and now make an end of suffering without abandoning the underlying tendency to lust for pleasant feeling, denial feeling, and also aversion, underlying tendency to aversion, underlying tendency to ignorance, it is impossible. So if one, Buddha finally said, if one does not make any effort to abandon the underlying tendency with regard to pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling, nobody can, that person cannot stop Sakkaya Ditya or other underlying tendencies. In other words, we have the place where we can break this chain of suffering. Where the easiest place we can break the chain of unwholesomeness. With regard, when we recognize feeling, three types of feeling, which is the easiest point of this process. Why do I say this? Why do the Buddha said this? Because seeing, using your senses and having those sensory experiences and arising of consciousness and contact, they happen immediately. You cannot observe them unless you are in a very deep concentration or samadhi level. You are not to judge these single steps, but easily you can understand pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. That is why we have those nama components, and the first one is Vedana, Sanya. See, the other three, Chetana, Passa, Manasikara, they are coming in the list as after feeling and perception. Feeling and perception means something you could easily notice. But Chetana, Passa, Manasikara are well before the feeling and perception come in the process. But they are not discernible by a person because they happen, and what is visible easily is feeling. When feeling arises, perception also is arisen with feeling. So if we do not attach to pleasant feeling, and if we do not fight with unpleasant feeling, and if we understand the neutral feeling as it is, there you have put the stop sign for underlying tendencies, karma, then karma anusaya, raga anusaya, and avijja anusaya. You have stopped creating any of those underlying tendencies. It means that you have stopped Sakkariti too for the moment as a practice. So, yeah, how Sakkariti is not a reason. This is the way. Depending on the I and form, I consciousness arises. So, isn't this showing that I consciousness is not a reason if not the eyes is active? If our eyes are completely dead, there is no I consciousness. It means that I conscious is not a permanent entity. It is always depending on the eyes and also form. If eyes do not have form to see, there is no I consciousness. It means eyes is feeble, not very strong, impermanent, and the form itself are impermanent, and the I consciousness is arisen only when eyes meet the respective object. And then eye contact is there because of the first three. And the feeling is also depending on the contact. Do you see that each of these physical and mental phenomena or components are very weak? Because depending on the previous one, this one arises. Imasming sati idang hoti. Imasa upada idang upajjati. When eyes meet form, I consciousness arises. And depending on when these three things come together, it's called contact. And depending on contact, there is pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. Each of these components of the process are very weak. Without the support of the previous one, there is everything is not going to be. Each unit of the process is taking the help from the previous one, so that we can see. If we are to say eyes, ears, nose, and everything is mine, I am here, why can't say I for this body? We can, but we see the weak point of all these things. We see the policy of all these things. That is how the Buddha said that there is no, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. So how the liberation takes place? When you happen to practice this type of view, this is also view. When you take eyes, ears, nose, and senses and their objects and consciousness, and you consider that they are always changing, and you do not welcome pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and so forth, and you stop momentarily development of the tendencies, underlying tendencies. So what you have been doing is taking yourself out of this troublesome mental and physical phenomena. So the liberation happens then and there. Seen thus bhikkhus, a well-taught noble disciple, whenever you consider each of these sects as such, your identity is changed right then and there. Earlier, before you take this analysis about your body and mind, you were you're a prutujjana, maybe you are a normal average person. But when you take this analysis into serious consideration, you are not anyone else but a noble disciple. At least you are in the Sotapanna Magga level. You are in the loop. You are in the Noble Eightfold Path, because you have been analyzing you not as a person, no, not as any individual. So you consider yourself as a combination of various sects, various parts. You are a progression of something. So that you change your identity immediately. So your identity now is noble disciple, a well-taught noble disciple, Sutava Arya Savaka, because you have heard about this classification of mind and body, so that you accept the fact that it is true, so that you have you have samadhi, and you are in the noble eightfold path. So you are a well taught, well heard, well said noble disciple. So noble disciple becomes disenchanted with the eye, nibbida. So you have your eyes, but there is nothing for you to enjoy through eyes. In eyes, you don't have anything to enjoy, and through eyes, you don't have anything to enjoy either. So look at those people who color their eyes, and those who attached to too many sightseeing and things. If you abandon Sakkaya Ditthi, there is no place in this world that you can go admire how beautiful this place. And I am pretty sure that if you have abandoned Sakkaya Ditthi, you deactivate your Facebook account. You never take a picture because you don't want. You may take pictures somebody else or something else that are important for your children and so forth, but you do not want to show up as you. And you are not going, this is my personal understanding. I believe that you stop selfie if you abandon Sakkaya, because you don't want to show yourself to your friends and so forth. It does not mean that you keep your body clean and clear. Even the Buddha washed his body, and he advised monks and nuns to keep their appearance as pleasant as it should be, because people come to us with the assumption that monks and nuns are very disciplined. So keep this body pleasant, because this is a naturally unpleasant object. Human body is one of the ugliest, unpleasant object when it compares to other animals. So Buddha advised monks in the Vinaya to keep it nice and clean for the sake of others' good deed and enlightenment. Because if you are not carrying your body, which came to this existence with so much merits, nobody likes you. Nobody accepts the fact that you say about the Dhamma, about the life. So we have to well maintain it, but not with Sakkaya Ditthi. You don't. That's how it is. So so friends, a well-taught noble disciple become disenchanted with the eye. The nibbida, there is nothing to enjoy. In Sinhala, it is called kalakirinawa, which is not the best word to say, because with the kalakirinawa word, some people understand something else, but with the word kalakirinawa or nibbida or disenchanted, what we understand is that there is nothing for you to enjoy with the eyes or in the eyes. Disenchanted with form, disenchanted with eye consciousness, disenchanted with eye contact, disenchanted with eye feeling, disenchanted with eye craving. So you are not there is nothing for you to enjoy in pleasant feeling. There is nothing for you to enjoy in craving. Suppose you are delighted with something. Earlier you were so excited to see something, but now with this understanding, with this practice, you see that there is no delightness in you. To see the same thing you were delighted before, because you are disenchanted. Nibbida has arisen in your mind. He become disenchanted with the ear and nose and the tongue and the body and the mind and so forth. Being disenchanted, he become dispassionate. Viraga is coming into effect. Viraga means there is no raga. Viraga is the total opposite of raga. Earlier you liked those sounds, pictures, smell, and you wished for seeing somebody, but now there is no such things in your mind. There is no such things in your mind. So that is called viraga. So through dispassion, being disenchanted, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When there is viraga for a certain period of time in your mind, the mind is going to liberate. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge. It is liberated. He understands birth is destroyed. The whole life has been lived. What has had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of being. Actually, Tataka Sutta's Dhamma definition is not to stop one at the Sovan level. It is for the full enlightened. So, do you see how the Sakkariti is abandoned and the process is not stopped there, it is taken into the Arhanship. So if you can stop Sakkariti, Vichikicha, Silabbata, Maramas are easily gone, and those who attain to Sotapanna find easy ground, easy steps to the other step of the enlightenment, right? So have you heard that those who attain to Sotapanna or those, struggle a lot? No, they see the Dhamma. Patta Dhammo, Vidita Dhammo, Pariyogalha Dhammo. These are the words Buddha used for someone who has seen the truth, or in other words, Sotapanna. Those who have attained to Sotapanna by abandoning Sakkaya Ditthhiya and other two fetters has Patta Dhammo. They have stepped onto the stream. They have jumped into the stream of a Noble Eightfold Path. They have penetrated everything. Vijita Dhammo, Pariyogala Dhammo, they now play in that. So friends, the very idea of today's Sutta discussion is to discuss how Sakkaya Ditthi is abandoned. Now we all know how Sakkaya Ditthi is abandoned, and earlier we came to know what Sakkaya Ditthi is and how it is arising, and now we know how to put an stop for that. So that's what I wanted to share initially. Even though I have other things to share about the topic, I just want you to speak about it. We can take 15 to 20 minutes for discussion. Yes, Chandrani has this.
Yeah. Whenever it was so good, I really understood the whole thing, but I got this idea. I don't know whether it's a good one or not. That's why I want to put this question. When we listen and understand, we understand that five aggregates. It is what creates some mama Sakkaya Ditthi. And we also understand that dukkha is also the same. When we cling to Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara, that is dukkha. Isn't it Sakkaya Ditthi and dukkha has some connection? And when somebody reaches Sotapanna, doesn't that person understand to a certain level of dukkha also?
Yeah,
That
there is no difference between Sakkaya Ditthi and Dukkha. That is the same thing. So the problem is that Sakkaya Ditthi is not understood as a suffering by people because people do not know what Sakkaya Ditthi. Therefore, they do not know what suffering is. Technically, Sakkaya Ditthi is suffering. Let's when Sakkaya Ditthi is there, how do we take it? That is mine, right? Oh, I am there. I am the one who brought this point of view, and the owner of this whole idea is mine. I am the project coordinator. I am the one who created. I am the founder of this. So people say something like that when there is any any problem, any issue arises in a social service, for example. So when you say I, me, and myself, when you say that this is my point, this is my project, that I'm the one who started this, it means that person is in the first noble truth and the second noble truth. He has or she has hold on to something, something change always as me and myself. So craving has been produced. It is Sakkaya Ditthi. Sakkaya Ditthi is a suffering.
So if we end the suffering, automatically Sakkaya Ditthi also ends.
Which is true. Yeah. So for example, suppose there is an example for this. The baby is running towards the the toy car. So the baby recognize that as a toy car. But what is inside of it is the plastic, and plastic is nothing but 4 great elements. But the baby recognizes that plastic made out of four elements as car. So the car is only a view of the baby's mind. Technically, there is only 4 great elements. So with Sakkaya Ditthi, what we have is a view. Sakkaya Ditthi is a view, it's a thought in our mind with regard to something made by 4 great elements. So when we forget the truth and perceive that as a car, as a toy, as a boy, as a girl, as my son and daughter, we have created ignorance. And when there is ignorance, avijja, it is a suffering.
So avijja tanha is the base for suffering, and here it's the view.
Yeah.
Thiruvan Saranai.
Yes. The Buddha's teaching here is very clear. You all know how Sakkaya Ditthi come into existence, and how Sakkaya Ditthi abandoned is also very clear. I think some of us need to work hard on understanding the senses and their sensory experiences, consciousness, and those subtle parts should be theoretically as well as empirically understood. So what meditation here is that you sit and observe your senses, and then even if you close your eyes, your ears, your kaya, pottabba, some of the senses are always working. In sleep, we put our mind into bhavanga, which means a layer where mind has not working. But other times, the mind is always producing something. So that we sit and observe with close eyes those faculties, feelings, as we emphasize here, if you cannot understand separately those things such as consciousness, contact, and so forth, just understand, just be mindful about the pleasant feeling or neutral feeling or unpleasant feeling as they arise, and practice. This is not mine. This is not this. This I am not, and this is not myself. Or if you take element meditation on 4 elements as we practice these days in the morning, all these paths take us into this conclusion, abandoning Sakkaya Ditthi. So when you feel that how do we know Sakkaya Ditthi is gone into a certain extent? We can feel it. We do not satisfy with sensory experiences anymore. Other people who haven't done anything in the training would like movies and going here and there, and they are always laughing for minor matters. They are fighting each other. Easily they get mad. They have jealousy so much in mind. So we can see people who have Sakkaya Ditthi in a strong way. But when we do not have Sakkaya Ditthi, we are not like that. We are naturally separated from their behavior. It doesn't mean that you do not associate them. You may, you could, you can, but you see the character differences. You do not get angry for certain things that those people get angry easily. You do not feel jealousy over someone else's success, someone else's good things, someone else's beautiful life. You have mudita over there because you have no Sakkaya Ditthi. You see them only occurrences. You see them only as happenings. You do not find I, me, and myself in each happenings. You have learned that there are mental and physical phenomena taking place everywhere in my mind, in other people. So that is only happening. So you put them into neutral point of view. I think that is what we need to take from this sutta, from other suttas about Sakkaya Ditthi.
When you said that, another question came up. It is now, if somebody comes clear of Sakkaya Ditthi, still this person has this greed, hatred, conceit, delusion. All those are there, aren't they?
They are in that person's mind, but they have the damage done to them actually. They are just like clay pots that has cracks.
Okay.
They are not developing further. Those who have done with the Sakkaya Ditthi and related unwholesomeness are like those box that have holes in it. Nobody can put anything into it. Because even if you put things into those boxes, they are gone from the other side. Something like that. They are just like dams that has hole. So you try to collect water, but there are holes that water seep through, go through, so you cannot collect water in it because you have holes. So those who eradicated Sakkaya Ditthi and are related unwholesomeness have craving, fatigue, and kama shava into a certain extent, but they cannot grow them. They are inclined into reduce those things. That's why we call niyato sambodhi parayano. They are certainly, definitely going towards the full enlightenment. So you are trying and our trying. I don't know whether you have eradicated Sakkaya Ditthi. We cannot judge it as external humans. It is you who knows how much, how much strong Sakkaya Ditthi you have or less Sakkaya Ditthi I have. It is your observation. This is why Buddha said in Thana Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, nobody can judge somebody else's enlightenment. If you want to see someone's enlightenment into a certain extent, you should go and live with that particular person, not for 1 week, not for 1 month, not for 1 year, maybe a couple of years. Even if that happens, it's difficult to know. Just wait for certain major things happen in his life. For example, if that person's mother or father or wife or children dies or something like that happen, or property damage or any other punishment given by the country for whatever reasons, disaster, in those occasions, the way that particular person behave is giving us a clear indication of his enlightenment, either as a Sotapanna or Sakudagami, Anagami, Arhat. We have Arahants and Arahants, Sotapanna, Sakadagami, and Anagami today in our society. They claim that they are Arahants, but we never accept the fact that they are Arahants, or we deny that they are not, because we do not live with them, and we do not accept the fact that they are Arahants just because they say, because we haven't lived with them. We cannot judge people's attainment because of their beautiful sermons, because of their logical sermons. Venerable Ananda was one of the monks at the time of the Buddha who explained the Dhamma beautifully. His level of Dhamma sermon is not level with even Venerable Mahakassapa. Mahakassapa could not explain the Dhamma like Venerable Ananda. But do you see that Venerable Ananda was a Sotapanna, but Venerable Mahakassapa was a Arahant. So what I want to say is that if you have eradicated or at least cut off 90% of Sakkaya Ditthi, you can feel it. With your day-to-day behavior, you can see that you are not like before, and you do not appreciate Kamasava anymore. Kamasva, the gratification on sensory experiences is not happening at all in your mind. You like silence, you like simple living. You do not have craving for money, craving for other things at all. You need those things to live, that is for sure, but you are not going behind them like average humans. So friends, this is real Dhamma. Practice it, and you can be a Sotapanna before this life ends, and that is guaranteed by the Buddha. If one understands these senses and their sensory experiences and other mental and physical phenomena as impermanent, not mine, I'm not there and not myself, you are a Saddhanusari or Dhammanusari, and you are not dying without attaining Sotapanna. That is not my word. That is the words of
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So if you do not have any more concern about the topic, I'm going to end today's session because we have Turutupoya program tomorrow from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And if you are not joining with any temple's program, you are welcome to our temple's program. And the only thing you need to do is try hard to develop mindfulness, sati, samadhi, panya, virya, and other limbs of nirvana. No matter which program you are in, it doesn't matter. If you can develop them with those programs, that's fine. And even if you do not find any program is for the purpose, you have enough Dhamma now to practice your Dharma. and to develop your qualities for Sotapanna or any other enlightened state. So, friends, we'll meet you next week with another topic for Sutta discussion with some suttas. Remember Chachakka Sutta, if you read it, it's a very long discourse, just like Sutta in Digha Nikaya, but very tasty to read for someone who really appreciate it. You don't feel time pass because it's really applicable and interesting. Read it. And if you want to read further about the direct path to Sotapanna and other enlightened state, go to the Okkanti Sangyukta of Sangyutta Nikaya, and they are very relevant to this one in Chachakka Sutta. With that in mind, I end this program now. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be able to practice this form of Dhamma in the Chachakka Sutta to abandon Sakkariti. May you all attain Nirvana by the power of this merit. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Silavantam gunavantam punyakittang anutteran durlabhena mealattang buddha puttang nama